for the arrival of the official party as we begin today's memorial service. Please be seated. And welcome Ngunnawal Elder Serena Williams for the Welcome to Country.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Serena Williams and I'm a proud Ngunnawal Wiradjuri woman. I was born here in Canberra, raised and lived here all my life. Although I've had the beautiful experience of seeing our beautiful country. A part of protocol of Welcome to Country is like a blessing, like when you come to someone's home. When someone's coming to your home, they knock on your door and say hello and you welcome them in. And that's what we've been doing for centuries of time, where we've been welcoming other people into our country. This beautiful country has over 500 and something dialects with over 200 and something countries in it. So we are very understanding of the welcome of to country, and I would like to thank the National Council for Fire and Emergency Services for having me here today to proceed with the welcome to country. I have my niece Minnie with me this morning, and this is about her learning and teachings of coming up in her place here on her country, on Ngunnawal country. And first of all, I'd like to acknowledge all my elders, past, present and future. I'd also like to acknowledge all other Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people that are here with us today, and I'd like to acknowledge our Governor-General and his wife, Mrs Hurley. I'd also like to acknowledge everyone that's here today. Today is a very important day. I know COVID has stopped a lot of things from happening, and I think it's really important that we embrace and we understand why we're here today. I'm very honoured here today to welcome you here to country. We're going to speak a couple of Ngunnawal words and explain those to you.
Yetamora.
Yetamora is a sweeping of coming into land saying hello. Mura is pathways, leave your footprints on our pathways.
Najan.
Najan is from the waters, from our beautiful waters, from the Aurora, from the Gudjumbi, from the Murrumbidgee, the Molonglo, and here before Lake Billy Griffin was built. And they're the cleansing of the water, of the spirits and the bad demons away.
Malian.
Malian is our wedge-tail eagle. She is the totem of the Ngunnawal people, and she will guide and oversee you and protect you while you're here on country. Welcome to Ngunnawal country. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome to the National Memorial Service for Fire and Emergency Service Personnel. My name's Josephine Sterling. I'm from the National Aerial Firefighting Centre, which is part of the AFAC group, and I will be your MC today. I would like to extend a warm welcome to Their Excellencies, the Governor-General of the Commonwealth of Australia, General the Honourable David Hurley and Mrs Hurley, Her Excellency the Honourable Dame Annette King, High Commissioner of New Zealand, from the Embassy of the United States of America, Charge d'Affaires Michael Goldman, Senator the Honourable Bridget McKenzie, Minister for Emergency Management, National Recovery and Resilience, from the Canadian Interagency Forest Fire Centre, Executive Director Kim Connors, and Director of Operations Dave Bokove. Distinguished guests, families, Commissioners and Chief Officers of Fire and Emergency Services in Australia and New Zealand, agency members, volunteers, welcome one and all. The Woden Valley Youth Choir will now lead the Australian National Anthem, including a verse in the local language, and the New Zealand National Anthem. Please stand for the national anthems.
Australians, oh, let us rejoice, for we are one and free, with golden soil and wealth for toil. Our home is girt by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts of beauty, rich and rare. In history's stage, let every stage advance Australia fair. In joyful strains then let us sing, advance Australia fair. Ulamanya Australia wa birigai munini, Darayaram gulam munina puru jimaram jima, Darayunayaram guru nali nuru sharaman guru, Australia yaram gulam punina pachimuni, Yakamalini wadi Australia pachimuni. God of nations, at thy feet, in the bonds of love we meet. Here we entreat, God defend our free land. God Pacific's triple star, from the shafts of strife and war, met heard afar. God defend New Zealand.
Thank you, and please be seated. AFAC CEO Rob Webb will now provide an introduction to today's service.
Your Excellencies, General the Honourable David Hurley, Mrs Linda Hurley, thank you for your ongoing support of this important occasion. Distinguished guests, families and friends of those who have died, who we recognise today, my colleagues in the Fire and Emergency Services, attendees here in Canberra and online. On behalf of the AFAC President, Commissioner Carleen York, the AFAC Board, the entire AFAC National Council, I'd like to welcome you here today for this very important event at the National Emergency Services Memorial. It's AFAC's absolute honour to host this event today. The many fire and emergency services from around Australia originate from different jurisdictions, different government leaders, and have many different roles, from rural fire, urban fire and rescue, SES, land management, surf lifesaving. However, they're joined today by their commitment not only to protect life and property, but also by their overwhelming collective loss when one of their own loses their life. Today we gather on behalf of over 280,000 career and volunteer emergency services personnel across Australia and New Zealand to acknowledge the sacrifice of those who have died, but also to provide some level of support for the families and friends who continue to grieve. Our fire and emergency services personnel selflessly put themselves in harm's way every day of the year, and sadly some pay the ultimate price. The Governor-General will present an AFAC medallion to family members inscribed with their loved one's name, and also miniature medallions will be given to other family members. Their names are inscribed on the memorial wall alongside, sadly now, over 600 other names. I invite you to reflect on those names at the conclusion of the ceremony today. I want to thank you all for joining us today. We hope that this in some way provides an acknowledgement of the place your loved ones hold in our hearts. We acknowledge your loss and provide our love and support. We offer you an ongoing commitment nationally to maintain their legacy for decades to come.
Thank you. It is my pleasure to welcome His Excellency, the Governor-General of the Commonwealth of Australia, General the Honourable David Hurley, for the official address.
Good morning, and thank you for the continuing invitation for Linda and I to participate in this very important national ceremony. Could I begin also by acknowledging that we're a Ngunnawal country. If you're a Canberran, you'll know how beautiful this part of the country is, and I thank the Ngunnawal people for looking after it for us for generation after generation. Pay respects to their elders, past, present and auntie. Thank you very much for the welcome this morning. Could I also acknowledge Her Excellency the Honourable Dame Annette King, High Commissioner for New Zealand, Mr Michael Goldman, the Charge d'Affaires for the Embassy of the United States of America, Senator the Honourable Bridget McKenzie, Minister for Emergency Management and National Recovery and Resilience. Could I also acknowledge Commissioner Carleen York, Commissioner New South Wales SES and President of AFAC, and welcome our Canadian representatives, particularly Ms Kim Connors, the Executive Director of the Canadian Interagency Forest Fires Centre, to our fire and emergency services personnel from Australia and New Zealand here today, family, friends and colleagues of the fire and emergency services personnel we're honouring today, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. This National Memorial Service for Fire and Emergency Services personnel is the only memorial service to bring together the fire and emergency services sector in Australia and in New Zealand. Today we remember and honour those fire and emergency services personnel who lost their lives as a result of undertaking emergency service duties. We extend our condolences to their families, friends and colleagues. Our fire and emergency services personnel have been very visible in recent times, on the front lines in the wake of a number of natural disasters, selflessly protecting our communities. from the 2019-2020 bushfires, cyclones, Western Australia, Queensland, floods, Queensland and New South Wales, our RFS, SES, state equivalents around the country have stood tall to protect their communities. Linda and I have been extremely privileged to meet so many of them as we visit each of these locations. And that continues tomorrow and on Sunday. We'll be in Bairnsdale tomorrow to present medals to the Country Fire Association personnel, and down at Cobargo on Saturday similarly for the Cobargo-Corma RFS personnel. And it's something that needs to be done. A very simple but poignant way to say thank you for what you give to us, to your country. 3 of the 13 fire and emergency services personnel we are commemorating today lost their lives on fire and or flood grounds. The other 10 people passed away from health conditions to which their service contributed. Each chose to help others and to serve and protect our community. When Australians and New Zealanders see fire and emergency personnel, they are reassured. Help has arrived because they are known to be special people. And indeed, everywhere we go, Linda's very frank in telling people that if I saw you coming down my driveway, I'd be greatly relieved, because you are a special person and you mean something very important into the way we look after Australia. In my role, Linda and I have been privileged to meet so many fire and emergency personnel. Their collective efforts, whether on the front lines or behind the scenes, make our communities safer and stronger. At this solemn annual memorial service, it is critically important that we come together to offer comfort to the families of the 13 members being commemorated today. The families of Kenneth Wood from the ACT Fire and Rescue, Colin Hungerford, Maxwell Beard, Michael Sherwin, Fire and Rescue New South Wales, Cletus Moran from the New South Wales Rural Fire Service, Colin Snowden and Wayne Stubbs, the Northern Territory Fire and Rescue Service, Merrill Dray from the Queensland Fire and Emergency Services, Louise Hinks from South Australia Country Fire Service, Maxwell Hamill and Rodney Smith from the South Australian Metropolitan Fire Service, Andrew Kerr and Michael Dennison from the Tasmania Fire Service. To the families, I know this is a bittersweet and a difficult day for you, but please know that you are surrounded by people who care, people who mourn with you, and people who stand with you. Our nation is grateful for the service of your loved one and stronger for it. 24 names have been engraved on the memorial wall since this corresponding service last year. They include those being commemorated today, as well as historical additions dating as far back as 1892. All 602 names are more than names on a wall. Yes, they were loved family members, friends and colleagues. But in addition to that, they lived a life that demonstrated enormous heart for their community. It's a real richness of spirit demonstrated in the way they approach their duties day in, day out, and in dangerous circumstances. Their lives had meaning, their lives were important, and as members of the Fire and Emergency Services family, they made an outstanding contribution to Australia and to New Zealand. We remember them, we honour them, we'll never forget them, and may they rest in peace. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Please welcome Firefighter Jim Keach from the Stress Prevention and Management Team at the South Australian Country Fire Service.
Good morning. Already from His Excellency and during the course of this service, many things will be spoken today about those whose names are on the memorial. And this morning, I would like to acknowledge the journeys of the families and colleagues and friends who have lost loved ones in the line of duty and whose names are on the wall. I feel honoured to be standing before you today, for you have graciously allowed me to enter into your grief and to walk with you for a short time along your path. Many of you have come long distances to be here today. For some of you, this day has become part of your life's pilgrimages each year. For all of you, the journey from your homes to this place is but one part of your current journey, the difficult and heart-wrenching grief journey that began with the loss of your loved one and whose name is now before you. Everyone grieves in their own way, struggles with their own unique understanding of what has happened, takes their own time, and eventually, hopefully, reaches a place that offers some peace and comfort. In our own time, we come to recognise that at some place in our journey, the nature of the grief that we are struggling with changes. And suddenly we know that it will not push us into the abyss where we have been standing. It will lift our eyes to see what is on the other side of that deep, dark place. Grief rescues us and walks with us from then on. The bottom line about grief is this: there is no wrong way to do it. Grieving is as individual as each of us. Our grieving needs are different in every case. It is also incredibly lonely. We often feel like no one understands, and that is true. No one does fully, because their grief is not our grief. Their grief journey is on a different path to us. Their timeline is at a different speed. One of the main thoughts in the backs of the minds of those of us driving with flashing lights and blaring sirens is protect life and property. It is our mantra, the reason we dress in whatever is the colour of our PPE. It encompasses our belief in the value of a commitment to the local village. And then a life is tragically lost, suddenly or over time. The grief journey begins, and in that journey over time, memories will come flooding back, mostly unexpected ones. Those memories, accompanied by the familiar and deep feelings of sadness and loss, will eventually be mingled with thanksgiving for a life shared, and for the power of grief to bring back to hearts and minds the presence of the one who has left. Treasure those sacred, precious memories. With as much gentleness as I can gather this morning, I need to tell you that you have embarked on a grief journey that lasts a lifetime. A journey that promises agonising depths and restoring peaks, easier days and much harder days, heart-wrenching loneliness and wonderful supportive community. For the pain of grief is the price we pay for love. The representatives of countries, governments and emergency services who are here today to recognise those who have paid the ultimate price come bringing support and love, hoping to help make your grief journey a little easier at this time. There is great and positive concern for your welfare and for your recovery. And while being here brings the painful reminder of what we have lost, there is a mystery that is happening as we sit here. We come and sit in the dust of our grief, tasting the salts of our tears. And there we find others who are also sitting. And while no one sits in exactly the same dust or cries the same tears, the very act of sitting together, whether words are uttered or not, speaks to us of community and of support. And therein lies the mystery. On our journey, we crave and search for peace and comfort. We wander lonely into dark places, hoping to see light, and yet it eludes us, seemingly for an eternity. Then some people ring Drop in, write, accompany in silence, support, create memorials. And the community which we feared we had lost appears among the dusk of our grief, bringing love and mercy to share. A faint glimmer of light appears on the horizon of our soul. Be at peace.
Thank you. Please welcome Commissioner Greg Leach from Queensland Fire and Emergency Services to speak on behalf of the AFAC National Council.
Good morning. It's my privilege to be able to say a few words this morning on behalf of the AFAC National Council. In commencing, could I also acknowledge the Ngunnawal people, the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today, and recognise their continuing connection to land, water and community. Could I especially acknowledge Auntie Serena, and I honour the elders past and present and extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people and Maori peoples who are joining us today here in Canberra or online. Today, we come together to honour the courage and sacrifice of those who have died in the line of duty in the service of their community. We stop to remember our colleagues who made the ultimate sacrifice, and our thoughts extend to family members, loved ones and friends. We honour their memory, we acknowledge their bravery, and we thank them for keeping their communities safe. As members of the emergency services, we understand the risks associated with responding to emergencies. We invest in training, vehicles, equipment, protective clothing to ensure that our people are well prepared to face any situation they confront. But today's service is a reminder of the dangerous nature of the work that we do. We acknowledge the 13 people being commemorated today and the 24 new names added to the memorial wall. Some of the names added this year are historical. For some of the names added, their loss is still raw. The circumstances of their loss are all individual in nature, but they are united here on this memorial through their selfless sacrifice for their community. For many of us, a visit to this memorial is a time for quiet reflection. For me, like many here today or joining us online, we've worked alongside or we've led some of the people whose names adorn this memorial. For many of us, we've attended the same incidents. As such, a visit here is a time of reverence. It's a time for reflection on the meaning of service and sacrifice. No matter what situations they are faced with, fire and emergency service personnel in Australia and New Zealand have one thing in common: an unwavering commitment to serving their community and to their safety and the safety of those around them. Today is a reminder of the dangers they face every time they respond to a call for help. Our people go about their daily duty, performing tasks that are often high risk, without seeking recognition or reward. They acknowledge and recognise the risks. It's important to do that in a job like this, but they continue to provide a vital service to their community in times of need. They sacrifice time with family and friends in support of their colleagues, deploying to assist during incidents and disasters, whether they be across their home state, interstate, or even internationally. Every person who becomes an emergency responder makes a selfless and brave commitment to protect us, our families, and our communities against disaster. This memorial serves to commemorate those we have lost, but also serves as a reminder of how emergency services across Australia and New Zealand stand shoulder to shoulder to provide strength and support to each other and the communities we serve during some of the darkest days. To the families here today, we stand with you in remembering your loved ones. Their selfless commitment to ensuring the safety of others will not be forgotten. Every one of us here and those in our services feel the loss of our colleagues and friends deeply. I know we're all proud of the selflessness and the community spirit shown by our emergency responders. And today, we pause to pay our respects to the extraordinary group who are being honoured and remembered. We are grateful for their service and we hold them in the highest regard. Their names are now added to this memorial so that all who visit here can reflect and pay their respects. Their service will not be forgotten.
Thank you. I ask their Excellencies, the Governor-General and Mrs Hurley, to join AFAC President and Commissioner of the New South Wales State Emergency Service, Carleen York, to present AFAC Memorial Medallions to the families who have lost their lives in the line of duty. As well as the family representatives who will be receiving medallions, we acknowledge extended family members, friends and colleagues who are here today on this significant occasion, and also those joining us online. We also recognise the staff from each agency who have given support to the bereaved families. To receive the medallion recognising Station Officer Maxwell Beard from Fire and Rescue New South Wales is Margaret Beard. Station Officer Beard died on 19th of March 2012 as a result of workplace cancer.
She texted us last night and said you're on your way, so a real privilege for us to be part of this today.
To receive the medallion recognising Captain Colin Hungerford from Fire and Rescue New South Wales is Jeanette Hungerford. Captain Hungerford died on the 5th of August 2018 as a result of workplace cancer. To receive the medallion recognising Station Officer Michael Sherwin from Fire and Rescue New South Wales is Lynn Sherwin. Station Officer Sherwin died on 30th of July 2020 as a result of workplace cancer. To receive the medallion recognising Senior Firefighter Kenneth Wood from ACT Fire and Rescue is Robin Wood. Senior Firefighter Wood died on 30th of August 2017 as a result of workplace cancer.
Watch the steps going down. Just looked a bit.
Thanks, Mrs.
Yeah, they're tilted.
To receive the medallion recognising Auxiliary Captain Wayne Stubbs from the Northern Territory Fire and Rescue Service is Leanne May Stubbs. Auxiliary Captain Stubbs died on 6th of July 2019 as a result of workplace cancer. To receive the medallion recognising Senior Station Officer Colin Snowden from Northern Territory Fire and Rescue Service is Alison Snowden. Senior Station Officer Snowden died on 20th of March 2020 from a cardiac arrest while on duty. To receive the medallion recognising firefighter Maxwell Hamill from the South Australian Metropolitan Fire Service is Stephanie Hamill. Firefighter Hamill died on 6th of May 2020 as a result of workplace cancer. To receive the medallion recognising Senior Firefighter Rodney Smith from the South Australian Metropolitan Fire Service is Kathy Smith. Senior Firefighter Smith died on 7th of September 2021 as a result of workplace cancer. To receive the medallion recognising firefighter Cletus Moran from the New South Wales Rural Fire Service is Jennifer Moran. Firefighter Moran died on 8th of May 2021 as a result of workplace cancer.
Thank you.
To receive the medallion recognising Station Officer Michael Dennison from the Tasmania Fire Service are Kerry Dennison and Karen Stewart. Station Officer Dennison died while on 6th of September 1990 from a cardiac arrest while on duty. To receive the medallion recognising pilot Andrew Kerr from Tasmania Fire Service is Emma Coates. Mr. Kerr died on 14th of February 2022 in a helicopter accident near Pipers Brook. To receive the medallion recognising Senior Firefighter Louise Hinks from the South Australian Country Fire Service are Alice Fleming and Adelaide Fleming. Senior Firefighter Hinks died on 21st of January 2022 from a tree fall at the Coles Fire near Lucindale. To receive the medallion recognising SES volunteer Merrill Dray from Queensland Fire and Emergency Services are Nicole Dray and Peter Dray. Ms. Dray died on the 25th of February 2022 in a flood accident at Kulana while responding to a call for assistance during the major flood event in southeast Queensland. The wreath-laying ceremony will now commence. I ask Their Excellencies the Governor-General and Mrs Hurley, together with Commissioner York, to lay a wreath to commemorate those who have lost their lives in the line of duty. I now invite the following people to lay wreaths: Senators the Honourable Bridget McKenzie and Rob Webb. Dame Annette King, Michael Godman, Kim Connors and Dave Bokovay. This is to acknowledge our partnerships with New Zealand, the United States and Canada. Gordon Hall and Dave Gossage, representing our volunteer associations. I now invite the 13 families who received a medallion today to come forward and lay a wreath together. There will be an opportunity for all others to pay their respects and leave a sprig of rosemary on the memorial wall at the conclusion of the service. Thank you. Please all stand while we observe a minute's silence to reflect and remember those who have lost their lives protecting our communities. Please be seated. I invite Jim Keach back for some closing remarks.
AFAC's intent for this service is to affirm and contribute to the potential healing and comfort that comes with understanding that the efforts and sacrifices of fire and emergency services personnel are recognised, and that through this service each year and the permanent memorial in front of us will never be forgotten. At a point in time, grief and sorrow came and destroyed our comfortable understanding of life. It tore open the cocoon of our own lives. Since our loved ones have died, there have been things that we didn't want to happen, but have had to accept. Things we didn't want to know, but have had to learn. And one person we couldn't live without, but had to let go. The pain is not only unbearable, but almost unspeakable. And there is a great struggle to find ways to express that which is so deep, so profound, and so personal. And yet, it is the grief we experience that allows us to fold the existence of the lost and loved one into the fabric of our own lives and our own journey. So now may the peace which passes all understanding surround every one of you always, in your going out and in your coming in your sitting down and in your rising up, in your work and in your play, in your joy and in your sorrow, in your laughter and in your tears, and in your own journey, until that day comes, which is without dawn and without dark. Depart from this place in peace, and look to the morning of each day, to the east, assured that the sun will rise again.
Thank you. And that concludes our service for today. On behalf of AFAC, thank you so much for your attendance here and online. And thank you to all who contributed to this significant occasion. For those here in Canberra, you're welcome to now come forward, place your rosemary on the memorial wall as a sign of remembrance, and then please join us on the lawn for light refreshments, a hot drink to warm you. Thank you. Good morning.